Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of my Devlog from Wisp. Today I'm going to talk about basically the progress as always, and I want to do a little bit something different. I want to talk about one game design topic. I will probably do this for now all the time, because I think it might be interesting for other people. So what I want to talk about, the game design topic I want to talk about today is controls for like basically platformer or a game like mine, and the difference between basically with less friction and high friction, or more floaty and less floaty controls, however you want to slice this. Anyway, so one thing I want to mention before I start, basically, wait, what I wanted to say? I lost what I wanted to say. Yes, the camera thing. I'm currently recording this at my gaming PC, that's why you cannot see my very beautiful face, so I hope you can get through without my face, but it just doesn't have a webcam, so whatever. So here's the first thing I did. I basically had some performance problems here, and I fixed those. The performance problems were basically the problem itself was really small, because I only did not set a maximum FPS on this scene, which caused the CPU to have like a constant usage on my PC at least between 10 and 12%, which is obviously not nice because I have a good PC, and other PCs might have higher usage, but it would not have caused lags on any PCs, because then the frames would drop and stuff would be fine. So that's the Unity specific thing. So, or I don't know how other engines handle this, but you can set in Unity the FPS on for each everywhere basically, and if you set the FPS, the game will not, the menu will not lag. So that's that. Without further stuff, we just go into this. Last week you already saw this character. I worked a little bit on that character because I got feedback that some people did not like this character, and I can understand the feedback that I got. It looks very different than the Wisp main character, which I can show you right now. Oh, this is the medium character. I will show that afterwards, but this is the main character. So just we talk about the same thing. This character looks very different, and the person telling me that from, I forgot the site. I will put a link to the site because it's a nice site. I post my videos there. Skirmish, I don't know. I should have really prepared better for this anyway. But I will put a link, or you know what? I will show annotation right here at this point, because I am too lazy to re-record all this and look it up. Anyway, so this person told me that he thought that the character was too different, and I agree, it's very different, but I actually think it's fine. I like this character as well. I think it has a nice touch. As I said, I tried to make it more similar with more particle effects and stuff, but for some reason it just wouldn't really work and wouldn't really work with me. So what I did instead is I increased the glow of the character itself, because that was one of his points that he had, and I think it helps getting the character closer to the other ones. So obviously, as you saw already, there is also another character, this one. This is the medium character. Maybe just shortly, so for people who don't know what my plan is, currently these characters all have different characteristics. What I mean by that is they have different frictions, they do accelerate differently, all characters have a dash, like this, and they are different long, and the gravity is also different for each of these characters. The first one, I think the gravity is too high right now. I probably will cut that down a lot again, because to me it feels like this should be the easiest character, and then it should not drop down that fast. The medium one, I'm actually quite fine with the controls, and basically the main thing that changes for each of these difficulty settings basically is that the friction increases for each character. This character, if I put to the right here, he will just go off and we basically will never stop. At least it feels like it. If you look at this character, if I do the same here, see, I'm not getting that far. I'm basically dropping off way quicker. It still is not like a normal platformer, or not like walking where you can basically instantaneously change direction and stuff. This is not what this game is supposed to be, but I figured I make it more easy on people. So that's that. Yeah. So and that's also a good thing to get into. Maybe I will do a break, which now also works in my game. It was not there before. Before, if you press the start button, you would just go back to the main menu. Right now we have here a small menu. Sometimes the particles will move a little bit still, but not in a bad way, and I actually think it gives a cool look to this. Yeah, so what I want to talk about today from the game design perspective is how these controls basically, or how my decision to have more floaty controls, or basically a character with less friction, because we are here in a physics simulation, how this affects game design. So first of all, what I wanted to say before I go into the less friction stuff, with high friction I think a lot of people already know that, because basically what you will get some impressions of what the differences between high friction and low friction, but the high friction stuff is basically what normal platformers will do, because like if you simulate walking, you can almost, like if you don't run, you can almost instantly stop. I will go over some other examples that do it a little bit different, but anyway. So first off, what is the impact if you have low friction as a player character? So the first impact you have is you cannot have a lot of passages that are really narrow, because it gets hard to control, especially ones where you need to start and stop. It is fine if you don't need to start and stop, but it's not as good as if you have to stop often, because normally with high friction you can just stop moving and then or stop pressing the buttons, and then you will stop moving very quickly. Because of that, it's easier to start and stop. And like for in a game like mine, it's actually way harder to start and stop because of the low friction. If you look at the like this one here, you have basically always have to give force to the other direction to stop, which is also something people are not really familiar with. It feels weird to them. They want to have brake buttons, and that's very different. I actually think that I need to really tutorialize this well, so that people get it, and I'm dying here because I'm talking too much. Yes. So what I will play with this one. I want to test the medium character a little bit, if it feels really medium, or if I should do it way easier again. That's the first implication we have. So, but that's basically not a good thing. That's just something to look out for. Games with that was an accident. What games with low friction can do that games with high friction can't do is basically doing something like chain reaction, or in a style of a chain reaction. I will show this very quickly after this level, where I have a level that is doing it a little bit like that. Not greatly, but a little bit, which I think is fine. So I hope I get through this here. No. Yes. Oh, difficult. Yes. So what I mean by chain reaction is, like, if you imagine actually Sonic, the platformer game, and basically what Sonic does is also very interesting. They basically have the best of both worlds, or they try to. And what I want to say, I did not play Sonic very much. I go off this off memory. I hope I don't say something wrong, but even if Sonic is not working like that, in my mind it works like that, and you should be able to follow and see where I'm going with this, even if I'm wrong, because I'm really not sure about this. But so how I remember that Sonic played was that you had, if you moved slowly, you had basically normal platform controls with walking, and then at some point, if you ran fast enough, you would become this ball, and once you were this ball, you could only very slowly brake, basically. And that's very similar to what I have. Like basically the character, the Sonic at this point becomes a character with low friction, and it also then, what would happen usually is then you will move very quickly and perform really crazy things like loopings and stuff, and the gameplay itself would almost become like an infinite runner these days. Like, I think if you really think about it, Sonic was probably one of the first infinite runners. Like, it has more to it than just infinite runner, but it actually is very similar. If I remember correctly, you were still able to jump, and that goes into another thing I want to talk about, but more to that later. So maybe I can show you here what I mean by chain reaction. If you move through here, that was actually bad. But how I move through here is exactly the way how... God, come on now. What am I doing? Like, what I'm describing is I press the button shortly, and then I basically glided through the obstacle. And that's how I want the game to feel. It's very different to have than to have a lot of control over your character. If you have a lot of control, you can also run through here, but it's not as important when you start or the direction in which you start. This is important here. Like, the other thing is you just have more control. Oh, wow. Wow, what's going on? Why is this so hard for me now? So weird. Yeah, so, come on. Get better at this. That's impossible. That's supposed to be the easier character. So, yeah, so you really need to just do it with. I will test it with this. Maybe I can do it with this one better. It's also important to know, for me to understand if the character really are easier. Ooh. I'm also not sure if the game's maybe a little... No, but it's not lagging. It feels fine. Why should it lag? So, but I cannot control this anymore. I don't know what's going on, but I just cannot control it anymore. So weird. What I wanted to say is, though, basically the idea is that it's really important how you start, and then later on the I will not do it. I will do it with this one now. And then later on, maybe I have to make this obstacle easier, because this seems too hard, to be honest. But I will change the levels anyway. So yeah, whatever. I will not do this level now. It's too much for me while talking. So the basic idea though is that if you control your character, like imagine you basically could throw a ball and it would never stop. What you can do then is basically let it bounce off different stuff and then have like a really cool chain reaction. This will not happen with a high friction. If you throw a ball and it will just stop after a certain point, basically the time it takes to stop is the maximum time, the maximum amount of time you can have chain reactions. And this is very different here. What I'm doing really bad though is, and I really need to change that, what you need to consider here is you need to show the player as much as possible of the obstacles ahead. And I'm not doing that. I'm actually thinking right now that I really need to change how the camera works, so that the player gets always to see as much as possible on each of these levels, basically. Because it's really important for my game to have a lot of knowledge. Like, if people don't know that there's stuff coming there, the next thing is also, if you cannot see right now, at the end here, if there's some small thing that went to the top, basically. And that's also really bad. Like one of these rectangles, basically. If it flew from the what is it called, borders of the planet, of the level. If it flew into the level, basically, you cannot see it, and that's really bad. It feels really bad because you started in the correct direction, but then you see, oh, there's something just flew up, is up there, and then you run into it, and you have very little control over that at that point. So that's why it feels bad. So one way to fix that is to always give the player more the possibility to see just way more stuff. I think that's a really important lesson I learned, and I will actually change. I will see how I will do the camera movement, and that will change as well. So yeah. I will now hopefully finish this level. And so what I wanted to say though is that these kind of controls, what they are really good at is basically, for one, producing these chain reactions. Another thing that is really interesting about floaty controls is it basically frees you up to do other stuff, because you do not need to worry about controls. It's not as good in my game because the threat in my game is always really high. Like if you like fall down here, you will just die basically if you don't do anything. But imagine a game where you would walk and it will just continue to walk, and then you can have mechanics similar to Sonic, where you basically have the jump mechanic, which is then basically it becomes an infinite runner, which is not an infinite runner, but you get the point. Something that runs automatically. The same thing could be done here for me. For example, what I actually prototyped because I thought it's an interesting idea is how about shooting on another button, and I would not need to, because when I first prototyped this idea, I had basically a twin stick shooter elements in there, which made the controls feel very weird. The idea that I had now is because I don't need to move all the time, I actually can switch between moving and shooting and moving and shooting, which is true. Like you can even change the direction, like move into one direction, shoot into the other, without the need, basically without the need of having two separate sticks active, which is like for some people really hard. And I think that's a really great way to do it. Like, the only problem for me is that my game is not really built for that right now. I will think about this a little bit more and maybe I will change it, but I'm not sure if I will. I really need to figure this out, because I'm just not sure. But for now I did undo the prototyping. It was fairly easy for me to implement this, because I had this already once and now I did it again in a little bit different way. Anyway, so that's I think all the thoughts I have on these kind of mechanics. I still feel that the controls here are not great, and it's really different on this PC than on my development PC, and I really need to find out what's the thing. Like I was on another PC, and for some reason on my PC here the controls are way faster. Maybe the stick is configured differently, or I don't know, it just feels weird, to be honest. So anyway, that doesn't really need to bother you. I hope you enjoyed this episode as always. If you did, please like the video on YouTube, and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. You can also like the game on Facebook, which you can just search for Will Glow the Wisp. I will go to the main menu so you can see the name. You can visit my company, that's parttimeindie.com. You can go to Reddit. If you want to download the game, you either go to my homepage, which I already said, www.parttimeindie.com, and then go to games and Will Glow the Wisp there, or you go to IndieDB and download it directly from there. Just search for Will Glow the Wisp and you will find it. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is @KeyboardSamurai, and Keyboard Samurai is with an Y at the end. So I hope you enjoyed this and have a nice week or weekend if you are really early or in the future or whenever, and goodbye.